I think the modern left is creating an authoritarian leftist culture that is deeply racist, sexist, and bigoted because it doesn't allow for any other opinions and anything other than their approved narrative concerning race and sex. So, for example, white people are racist by definition, and black people can't be racist by definition. Men are sexist, but women are not. And anyone who doesn't agree with that is himself or herself a bigot. It claims to allow for a diversity of lifestyle. We should accept people who live in different ways from each other, but it doesn't allow for any diverse opinions, which is quite strange if you're so for diversity, because the left, while authoritarian, disguises itself as progressive and diverse. But anyone who doesn't share their opinion is immediately labeled as a racist, a sexist, a homophobic person, a xenophobic, transphobic, or any other kind of phobic. And this is all done without any critical or just evaluation of what a person actually believes. You know, the left wants to make it such that people can be accused of racism or some kind of phobia without actually seeing if they've ever made a value judgment that is racist. They'll look at certain behavior and then immediately say, well, behind that behavior lies a mental state, which is a value judgment that says that X race is less than Y race, or this sex is worse than that sex, or this person behaves in this way and therefore they must be terribly afraid of homos or something like that. And as such, they create the possibility to label somebody as an enemy if they don't fall in line with their narrative. And because they're the enemy, they can be mocked and or in some other way socially rejected. They can be just labeled crazy and their ideas can therefore be dismissed. The leftist culture also advocates for a worldview that places feelings above truth. So they won't say immediately there is no truth because obviously they think that their narrative is true, but they believe that if there is a case where a statement of fact or a truth, if expressed, would cause feelings to be hurt, then it's best to either give a trigger warning or they would simply dismiss that truth and say, well, we won't deal with that because people will be hurt if we do. And of course, this is just the infantilization of the people that have that culture. I mean, trigger warnings were in my day something like this. You'd be listening to a radio program, for example, or to the news maybe, and something that would be inappropriate for children, either sex talk or corpses lying around on a battlefield, they'd say something like, well, if you have kids, please take them out of the room because what we're going to talk about now is quite disturbing or something like that. So that's like a trigger warning back in my day. But these people are adults and they have to have trigger warnings for everything, for even the most little itty bitty things that anybody who is an adult could easily handle. And the reason why I say that these leftists disguise their racism and sexism and bigotry with diversity is because in the end, just like any authoritarian movement, they want a homogeneous society. They want everybody on the same side, they want everybody on the same level. They want everybody with the same ideas. And they don't want any diversity because that would break the utopia that they want to create. So right authoritarians would, for example, say, well, everybody who doesn't have a head shaped like this ought to be killed, or anybody who has a nose this size has to be killed, or anybody who is not this race will have to be killed, or anybody who has a higher intelligence than this will have to be killed. Yes, those are some of the criteria by which right authoritarians in the 20th century killed people. Now, the left doesn't want to do that because they don't want to repeat the horrors of right-wing authoritarianism that we've seen in the 20th century. They want to have inclusion, but they want everybody to level down to the standard of the most marginalized, and they want homogeneity on that level. And so no creativity, nothing that makes you stand out will be accepted in their leftist authoritarian utopia. And this is just wrong. We should encourage diversity, real diversity, not diversity in name only, with the hidden and quite deceptive and evil intention of creating a homogeneous society. So yeah, me and some of my friends here in the Netherlands find this very troubling. You know, Dutch people tend to be very sober people. They're not as extravagant as some Americans are or other cultures are. But we acknowledge that we can't just ignore America. We can't ignore the UK. They are part of our world, and the people that are growing up in that society will be part of the global community with which we either directly or indirectly interact. But if these infantilized people will be given the reins of power, what will this mean for, first of all, Americans? We have already seen to what extent they are really oppressed by this PC, trigger warning, leftist authoritarian culture. And I don't like what I'm seeing. And a lot of people with me don't like what they're seeing. And what does that mean when they will be given the reins of power, these authoritarian leftists? What will that mean for the English speaking world, which we've already seen? We've seen that Jordan B. Peterson, for example, in Toronto University, has a court case which is going to start in about 2 hours from now when I'm recording this. And I'm curious to see what will happen there. He will have a debate, I believe, with some two professors uh, at that university. One's a law professor and another one is something else. I can't remember. So what will happen there? So it's already starting in Canada and it's also in the UK. Just look at any This Week in Stupid by Sargon of Akkad and you'll see the UK also has a problem with these authoritarian leftists. And now, in the Netherlands, we also see the rise of social justice warriors. And I'm truly afraid what will happen. And this is the reason why I'm making these videos. This is the reason why I started this channel today, actually. And I don't want this to happen. So keep following me. I'll bring you up to date on uh, Dutch social justice warriors. And I'll give my opinion about all other sorts of things. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.